There are methods to determine what is suitable for treatment and what is not. These methods fall into two groups. Personalized approaches when we choose individually, and impersonal approaches when the selection is based on a zodiac sign or dosha, like what suits Vata dosha or Aries. This is an impersonal approach, not for you but for Aries, not for you but for Vata dosha. The Vata dosha is imagined in the doctor's mind, and they prescribe something for you. You take it and consume it. You are the one eating it personally, but it's prescribed for Vata dosha. That's where the problem lies. There's also an entirely impersonal approach where medication is prescribed not for Vata dosha or Aries, but for the intestinal mucosa. It's an average. They take the average of the intestinal mucosa and select the medication for that. This has nothing to do with your individual intestinal mucosa, hence the results follow. If something works for someone else, it's an exception. And in all my practice, it's rare. Generally, different prescriptions and different treatment plans are needed for each person. Everything is entirely different. If a doctor cannot learn to understand their patient, there's no chance of truly helping them. They can provide some symptomatic relief, but not much more. You can get the same level of relief by listening to a lecture on a daily routine and following it. You'll eliminate some of the symptomatic imbalances in your body. The things that are not too severely affected will recover quickly by following a daily routine. Everything will clear up on its own. There's no need for detoxification, just follow the daily routine and everything will cleanse itself. Everything will cleanse itself because the body has a self-cleaning system. It operates in the evening and nighttime, so make sure to sleep, go to bed on time. Personalized means specifically for you. Since there aren't many doctors who can select something personalized for you, you must become experts in choosing what's right for you. It's not difficult to do. Even every dog knows how to do it. All dogs understand this, but you don't. Why did this happen? It's because the mind has become dry and impersonal. The mind has dried up and doesn't want to be in tune with the body. We know what suits us and what doesn't. But what we prepare, that's what we put in our mouths, right? We don't know this. And this affects our mood. Soon we'll be discussing what qualities different foods have and what character traits they develop. We'll delve into this soon. It's alarming, right? Who's here for the first time today? Do you know we have a subtle body? Who doesn't know? There's a subtle air that moves in the subtle body. Not the oxygen O2 we breathe, but something we cannot perceive. We can only feel it. Do you know how? When you get goosebumps, that's the movement of the subtle air. When we feel cold, the subtle air moves too quickly. When we warm up, it slows down. The movement of subtle air through the body happens this way. We cannot fully explain it with just nerve impulses. Why do goosebumps run down the entire back and not just one part or another, or over the whole body at once from someone's touch? If you touch someone with a piece of wood, there are no goosebumps. But if a kind person touches you, goosebumps can appear. Why don't they appear when touched by wood? Does anyone know? It's because wood does not transmit prana, the life force, but a person does. This explains the presence of the subtle body. If anyone thinks this doesn't exist, try touching someone with a piece of wood and then with your hand. See if they feel the difference. If they do, it means there's prana, there's a subtle body. When we inhale through our nose, prana enters along with the air. We often confuse the two. For example, when we feel freshness in our nose, we inhale and feel the freshness. That freshness is prana. It's not just fresh air. Air can be fresh, but when you breathe in, it might still feel stuffy. During one of the lectures, we did an experiment. I placed my hands, and it felt fresher even though it was stuffy. Is anyone feeling stuffy now? Is it stuffy in the room or not? Why do you feel stuffy when there's enough air? You don't know. I'll place my hands now. Watch. It will be interesting. Is it still stuffy now? So why did this happen? Where did it come from? Why it was stuffy just a minute ago? Did you feel warmer? And she felt warmer. Why did you feel warmer? Did they turn on the heater under your seat? Please check if there's a heater under your seat. Is it warming you from below? This is actually prana. Some people think it's just auto-suggestion. But I didn't say whether it would be cold or warm. Everyone felt cold, but she felt warm because the life air is very blocked and congested. Your sleep is disrupted, right, ma'am? Yes, she says. Her life air doesn't move well through her body. When the movement of life air increased, she immediately felt warm. Energy started accumulating in certain areas. You need to understand that prana exists. It can be felt as freshness. When we feel freshness, prana moves properly through our bodies. Simple? Simple. When a person feels freshness, they are in a state of pure goodness. When a person feels warmth or heat in the body, they are in a state of passion. When a person feels heaviness, lethargy, and intense heat, they are in a state of ignorance. Their condition is in ignorance. When a person feels coolness, their entire body functions normally and all systems work properly. Not cold. Cold is also a passion. Severe cold is degradation. Cool, pleasant, a calm state, calm, pleasant coolness. This indicates that prana moves normally in the body. When prana encounters some obstacles along the way, heat is generated. Therefore, we must understand where it all comes from. It all comes from the fact that there is a vast universe, and it functions as a single organism. There are living beings on the higher planets called demigods. They act as administrators in this universe. There are only 33 million of them, not so many, just 33 million for the entire universe. Like several large cities, they hold immense power. All the prana that governs this universe flows through them. Everything that occurs here is done with the help of prana. Planets move, the sun spreads its rays. However, it is God Himself who supplies energy to the sun. This is divine power. Sunlight is divine energy. It consists entirely of happiness. A person who recognizes the power of the sun becomes happy and does not get sick. Those who dislike the sun suffer from sunstrokes. Energy accumulates in their bodies, they feel lethargic. Today, amid widespread antagonism, doctors say to everyone, don't go out in the sun. The sun is labeled harmful. In reality, the sun is beneficial. What? What about ozone holes? Is the sun to blame for the ozone holes? In reality, everything that happens here is a result of our negative actions. The earth strives for harmony. If we refrain from harmful actions for at least 10 years, everything will be completely cleansed. The atmosphere has a natural tendency to purify itself, much like our bodies. We just need to not interfere with its work. The same goes for the earth and the universe, because there are forces that control all of this. You can observe it yourself and check. Where something is lacking, a particular plant begins to grow. You see, everything is provided for in this world. There are forces that supply us with prana, our life force. There is a movement of prana in this universe. A person who wants to do something for others embodies the wish to live. The desire to live means doing good. This is inherent in us. When someone feels depressed or fatigued, when someone feels bad, it means they don't want to do anything good for anyone. You just need to analyze this and come to a conclusion. When a person wants to do something good, optimism emerges within. They take a deep breath, and prana enters their body. They feel freshness. It is possible to live without fatigue. You can live tirelessly, completely without fatigue. Absolutely. You just need to ask yourself every second, do I want to do something good now, or am I already tired? If someone feels tired of doing good for others, it indicates fatigue at that moment. Hence, you can live without fatigue. You understand? When we want to understand which foods are suitable for us and which are not, we should be guided by this principle, understanding how prana operates. All plants contain prana. When a plant dries up, only the subtle element of the earth remains in it. The subtle element of air is in an unmanifested state, frozen. The subtle element of earth is in its natural state. The subtle element of water is absent, and the subtle element of ether is also present. We have discussed what this is in previous lectures. If the subtle element of ether is present, it indicates a possibility of the presence of all other elements. Therefore, ether is the first element to appear in our universe. Ether is what makes the existence of everything else possible. It enables the existence of some volume. This is what the ethereal force does. Ether is not some rarefied air. It's a subtle element that is very difficult for us to comprehend. We can only understand ether through its ability to conduct sound, ethereal, sound, resonance. When a sound is produced, it is transmitted through the ether. Sound is the most informative force in this universe. Sound is the greatest force, both destructive and creative. Sound is the most powerful weapon. In the past, even 5,000 years ago, people knew the secret of Brahmastra. A Brahmastra is akin to a small nuclear bomb capable of exploding depending on the desire of the person directing it. There were such people of the highest caste. These were priests and priest-scientists who established the laws governing human conduct. If someone opposed these laws strongly, and everyone saw that he would destroy people's existence, a priest could simply utter a prayer, a certain combination of sounds, immediately causing that individual to fall and die. That's it. There was no need to fight him. These same priests held such power that they could create a small nuclear explosion somewhere at will and simply pulverize a certain place. They produced certain sound vibrations, and a fireball appeared that flew to that place, incinerating a location entirely. Nothing remained there, not even ashes, just an empty space, and that's it. All this is detailed in the Vedas. Everything is described, how it happens, and the theoretical mechanisms behind it. You can study everything if you wish. This is possible because ether holds full informative power. Is it possible to make a nuclear explosion? It's possible, right? Everyone knows it's possible. This can be done without combining uranium with other substances or increasing its critical mass. This can be done simply with sound. Because sound is the most powerful force that exists in this world. Thus, with the help of sound, if a person listens carefully to information, they can acquire knowledge. Knowledge is transmitted this way. If someone knows, they speak, and the one who listens receives it, and that's it. Nothing else is needed. This is how the body of human intelligence is nourished, through sound. The subtlest body, which controls everything else, the body of intelligence, is nourished through sound. Sound serves as a diagnostic criterion for holiness. If the sound coming from a person is pleasant to the heart and causes a state of happiness, it indicates they are relatively sinless. But how to check what kind of happiness they bring? There are two kinds of happiness. There is spiritual happiness and there is material happiness. If a person's sound brings material happiness, it means, on the contrary, they are driven by lust. If we feel lustful after hearing someone speak, it means that their sound is infused with lust. However, if calmness, joy, happiness, and desire to progress and improve one's existence arise, it means the sound is filled with a different power. We should listen to one another. How can we diagnose a person? What do they want to convey to you? For this, you need to carefully listen to their sound. You will immediately understand whether you need to listen to them or not. If the sound is unpleasant to the heart and does not evoke a feeling of happiness, then you don't have to listen further. You won't hear anything more of value, not a thing. Because sound is a reflection of the very essence of a person's strength. Some improve their sound through singing and training their vocal cords. Sound can resonate with different centers, but the person's essence remains unchanged. There is a sound coming from the lower centers, such as those in opera. There can be a sound coming from the stomach or the heart. The sound coming from the heart is considered the highest in origin. It immediately evokes the manifestation of true feelings in a person: solidarity, happiness, and friendship. Sound can also come from the liver or intestines. The sounds that young people sing today, boo boo boo, come from the lower centers. Sound can come from the mind. This is a higher sound. There are songs that Grebenshchikov sings. This sound comes from the mind. Sound can come from various sources, and whatever feeling this sound evokes in you reflects what the person speaking is experiencing. That means that these are very clear criteria to consider. When a person possessing absolute holiness speaks, a state of absolute happiness arises. If you have ever met such a person, you are a very lucky person. You have a very fortunate fate. If you haven't met them, you must definitely seek out holy individuals and listen to their sound. This alone is enough, and you will be filled with the power of happiness. Your intelligence will open up, you will feel the opening of intelligence, and it will become easier to live. You will feel extraordinary happiness inside. Therefore, it is necessary to seek and engage with those who embody holiness. They are free from sin. It's not just what they claim about themselves. You need to look at their behavior and their life. Their way of living will reveal everything clearly. Therefore, we should seek such people to make our lives successful. Because when our intelligence is befouled, we develop unnecessary ideas regarding our lives. It becomes very challenging to give them up because the false ego is also a subtle structure of a person, and it says, "You are right, you are always right." It says something like, "Here they speak correctly, and here they don't, and here they are right again." This is most often the voice of the false ego. How can you discern whether it's your false ego resisting or your intelligence? It's very simple. If someone speaks and you feel no resistance, no, I don't like what he's saying, if such a feeling doesn't arise, but rather a curiosity, why is it so? Why is he saying this? If a question arises, why is it so? It means your intelligence is speaking. Because intelligence is always inquiring. Intelligence never rejects anything. Intelligence studies while the false ego rejects. Now let's assess how your false ego is tuned. Now everyone tunes in and sits up straight. I'll say a phrase and you can immediately diagnose yourself whether your false ego flares up at this moment or not. Now I will say softly, eating meat is harmful. Some of you might respond internally, no, it's beneficial. It's beneficial. This reaction comes from the false ego. Some might have an internal response. Why? Why? This comes from intelligence. So you've realized this already, but some other things you haven't realized, and two feelings arose during the lecture. The first being, why, and the second being a desire to argue back. I'll prove it to him. The diagnosis using sound is clear to you. You can diagnose another person through sound. So you should diagnose another person when they speak and not when they look at you and smile. When they open their mouth, you can begin your diagnosis. What they will talk about, why they will talk, what they will talk about, all this is a criterion of their consciousness. A person's appearance is absolutely deceptive. Beauty can come from the lower, middle, or high centers. Beauty coming from the lower centers evokes lust. Beauty from the middle centers evokes joy. Beauty from the higher centers evokes a feeling of happiness and love. Not carnal love, but love for people, for humanity. Let's learn this beauty so that everyone around us can find happiness. Diagnose yourselves. Therefore, one should repeat the holy name of God. When they repeat it, they cleanse their intelligence. They repeat the holy name of God close to their heart. You should think about which incarnation of God you like the most. As you repeat, listen carefully to how you repeat. Gradually, you will cleanse yourself in this way and attain complete peace and happiness. Your speech will then become pleasant. You know, there is a wise saying, who has no enemies? The one whose speech is pleasant. Whose speech is pleasant? That of a person free from sin. There's nothing you can do here. The chain is solid here. So no matter how you twist it, no matter how you pretend, nothing will work, and your voice will give you away. This is related to the ether. Following ether comes air. Air is associated with touch. Touch transmits life energy. When we inhale air into our lungs, it touches the walls of the lungs. At the moment prana begins to circulate in the body, prana moves with the help of this. Through touch, you can diagnose purity. When you inhale the air around, you touch the place where you are. If you inhale the air and you don't like it, it means this place is dirty. You recall a smell and think, it smells like this, I don't like it. Or, it smells like that and I like it. Generally, the smell should be fresh. If you come home and the air has a warm and slightly unpleasant odor, it indicates a lack of intelligence in that place. The power of intelligence is linked to the movement of life air. When people filled with intelligence inhabit a place, it feels fresh and pleasant. If people are not filled with intelligence, the smell is stale, very unpleasant and heavy. It means you shouldn't stay in that place for long. It's best to leave. Through the air we breathe, we can assess the purity of a place. If you go somewhere and there's a bad smell, you must leave. You can also judge a person by their touch. If a person's touch feels cool, it means they are in a state of purity. If the touch is warm, it means they have some impurity. If the touch is hot, it signifies they have some deeper problems. A person's touch should evoke a feeling of happiness, but this is very rare. Mostly if someone touches you, it's a warm sensation or sometimes hot. If someone touches you with hot hands, it indicates they are not in a very good state at that time. Touch always transmits life air between individuals. If a person touches someone, the life air is transmitted to the life air of the other person, and yours is also transmitted to them. If a person touches with their right hand, your life air is transmitted. If you touch with your left hand, you receive life air. When a person takes something with their left hand, at that moment everything from the atmosphere, from the environment comes inside them. When a person eats, they are very open. They should not touch food with their left hand. According to the Vedas, a person should eat only with their right hand. Never touch food with your left hand. Europe is not the center of education in this regard. For instance, in France, kings wore clothes, and it was considered that they were relatively clean if they washed their clothes at least once every 2 weeks. So they wore these clothes and an aroma spread from them. They perfumed themselves well. In Vedic culture, it is believed that a person should wear clean clothes every day, or at least every other day. If they go to a temple, they should always be clean. Such is the standard of cleanliness. Touch is a very important thing. It diagnoses purity, whether a place is clean or dirty, and whether a person is clean or dirty. Next is fire, which is associated with the eyes. The gaze carries a fiery power. There is pure fire and dirty fire. Dirty fire causes disturbance. Pure fire causes a feeling of happiness. There is the fire of the lower centers. It causes lust. The fire of the upper centers causes enlightenment. When you look at a holy person, a sensation of fire arises, and the body is filled with the power of happiness. This is subtle energy. This is also fire, but it has a pure nature. This is a subtle fire. Not all fire is physical. That is, if the wood is burning, we think it's fire. This is physical fire. Remember that sometimes heat can be felt from within, although nothing was set on fire there. Yes, it can burn from both inside and outside. Using gaze and the power of subtle energy, you can determine a person's intention towards you. If you look into someone's eyes, your upper or lower center flares up and certain thoughts arise. Thoughts arise as we think on their own. My thoughts, my steeds. No, nothing like that. These thoughts aren't truly mine. My thoughts reflect the energy of the person gazing at me. Our thoughts are influenced by our surroundings. When we watch TV, my thoughts are those of the TV. Everything said on TV settles in, and we repeat exactly the same. Then big problems arise in your life. Because nothing good has been said on TV lately, when we look at another person, a feeling of tension arises and some thoughts immediately appear. These thoughts characterize that person's intention. It's very easy to determine a person's intention. We need to look into their eyes if we sense something in their gaze. It may even be a hidden intention, that is, they themselves might not even know those intentions. It can be just an attitude. You shouldn't judge a person. If you don't like the gaze, it happens for two reasons. The first reason is that he has a negative conscious attitude. The second reason is that he has a troubled subconscious. This comes from sins of past life. However, neither a negative conscious nor a negative subconscious attitude is a reason to treat someone poorly. If you treat a person poorly, it indicates you yourself have a very negative attitude. How to check if I have a good or a bad attitude? Look into the eyes of someone you believe has a bad mood. If we can treat them well despite that perception, it means we have a good attitude. If we can't treat them well, then we shouldn't go anywhere. We should just stay at home and focus on creating a positive attitude, because otherwise all our movements and actions will be useless. Because we won't be able to do anything good. If we have a bad attitude, we treat people poorly, we are rude to them, we don't like their gaze. You know why we don't like the gaze? It is because a force emanates from the heart of the other person, which pressures us. The force is rooted in their past actions and urges to say a bad word. It's destined for him. The person doesn't know about it, completely clueless and simply gazing with what they believe are normal eyes. For example, consider a husband coming home from work and gazing, I'm looking at you with normal eyes. He sincerely believes that he's looking with normal eyes, yet something internal comes out. It's just that planets are moving according to our fate. We are walking the path of fate. At some point, something from our past actions catches up with us according to our fate. Then it suddenly surfaces through the heart. In those moments, others feel the negative energy emanating from us. We feel that it collides with our sins, and the time has come for us to do something bad, to express negativity. Everything is so harmoniously interconnected in our world. Things come out of others when their time has come. Things come out of us when our time has come. But generally all this is programmed simultaneously. Therefore power emanates from the eyes. You find yourself wanting to say a bad word, and a mental pattern begins forming in your mind. I don't know why I'm telling you this bad thing. If I knew, I would have killed you. So we are trying to find the reason. Even when we don't find it, we still end up doing something bad towards this person. If there were a valid reason, it would make our hearts rejoice, and we could tell them directly because there would be a reason. Thus, there is no reason to be angry at another person. There is no reason because the anger comes from my heart, which at that moment wanted to get angry because of my past bad actions. That's all. Therefore, when we diagnose a bad look in another person, we should diagnose two objects at once. First, we see a difficult fate from the past in that person and a bad attitude now. The second diagnosis is of ourselves. How do I perceive this? Ultimately, all this dirt comes from my heart, because if I am pure, I won't see bad in anyone. You know that a holy person doesn't see bad in anyone. Do you know this or not? They don't see it because the bad power is nothing to be confronted with. The bad force always clashes with our own, and we enter into a confrontation. If a person has no bad force, there's nothing to clash with. They simply don't notice the bad. It seems to them that all people are good. Maybe their mouth is turned a bit. Well, everyone's mouth is turned differently. This is normal. His eyes may be looking square-like, but in his soul, he's such a good person, the soul is shining. The holy person sees the soul. He sees how the nectar-sweet soul is shining. He looks into the heart. There is so much dirt, and compassion arises for this person, thinking, poor thing, he suffers so much walking with this dirt, he needs help. This is the feeling that arises in a holy person. But since we are puppets of these forces, of the laws of karma, we clash with each other. For instance, you're walking down the street, and you see two dogs wagging their tails at first. Then they see a bone and start fighting, and rolling in a ball, starting to bite each other. You think they couldn't share a bone, then you come home and the same thing happens. That means the look determines a person's attitude, either from their past or present, from their thoughts or their heart. So there's no reason to be angry at anyone, as we don't know if it comes from thoughts or the heart. There's no reason to be angry at a person, you understand? If we get angry, it's a sinful activity, we'll be held accountable for it. Therefore, fire determines a person's attitude. Next comes water. Water carries the power of taste. Water is associated with taste. We sometimes find something tasty. We say someone is tasty or not tasty. We describe a smell as tasty or not tasty. Everything in this world can be tasted. There can be a tasty lecture today, or not tasty. We can taste everything. Absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. And what does this determine? Our tastes determine whether our senses like something or not. That's why we say that tastes differ for everyone. You understand? It's all about compatibility with our senses. However, feelings change every second. Therefore, taste is not a criterion for what suits me or not. Today it's tasty, tomorrow it's not tasty, depending on my mood. There's absolutely no direct connection with the body here. There is some indirect connection. When a person is sick, some things taste good and others do not. However, if the senses are befouled, things that shouldn't even be eaten become tasty. You understand? For instance, in some cultures there are dishes where they put a dog down and it rots for some time. Do you know about this? Who has heard of it? Raise your hand. It rots, then they hang it on a tree, it decays there, something drips from it. Then they take it and drink it and consider it tasty. At Lake Baikal, they also eat food that is not exactly fresh. I know that near St. Petersburg, in a region of Karelia, they do the same thing. They eat a lot of such rotten food there. This food is in degradation. If I were shown meat now, I'd have the same reaction. The feeling is similar to what you might have about that fish, but you consider meat normal. I'm just disgusted because I haven't eaten it for 10 years. When I see it, I tremble, literally. I think, Lord, how is it possible? I can see what diseases this cow had and its character just by the meat. How can one eat this? It's a killed cow. It's difficult. Moreover, if you go to the market, there are these cow heads lying there, and someone stands and says, not this head, but that one. Give me that head, please. I'll eat this head. I prefer it more. Do you like the head? Look how cute it is. You'll eat it. For some reason, we don't feel the same way towards each other. If someone has a cute face, we don't have a desire to eat it, but some do. This is the next stage. After meat eating comes the next stage when people start eating humans. Do you know about this? Therefore, it's better not to eat meat. It brings suffering. Such nutrition is in degradation. We should understand that taste determines our attitude. Through taste, you can determine yourself and your attitude. You can determine your attitude by what tastes good to you at a certain time. Food can be in passion, pure goodness, and degradation. If food in passion is tasty, we likely have a passionate attitude. If food in degradation is tasty, it means our attitude is linked to degradation. A degrading attitude brings suffering. A passionate attitude brings initial joy, followed by disappointment. A pure goodness attitude brings happiness. If we try food in pure goodness, we feel joy. If we like it, and we like it at the right time, it means we have a good attitude. Taste helps us judge a person's qualities and their attitude towards life. Our character reflects what we eat. Eating dead, killed food reflects a killed character, hence the phrases killed by grief or you look dead. This happens because a person eats a lot of meat, I can tell you for sure. If a person stops eating it, such a killed character simply passes and they become happy. It's a very simple recipe. Try it. Who hasn't eaten meat for 2 weeks? Raise your hand. Did your mood improve? Isn't that so? Yes? Someone might resist. No. This resistance comes from a false ego. Why does the question arise? It comes from intelligence. Check yourself and study yourself. This is very important. Someone might think, I hate him, I just hate him. This is also from false ego, because you can study. Why hate? There's also smell, right? The smell is connected with earth, with the subtle element of earth. The subtle element of earth contains all other subtle elements in a hidden state. It is believed that if you take dried grass and smell it, you determine all its qualities at once. Smelling dried grass reveals its qualities. You can put it in front of a cat's eyes, but it will still try to smell it first with its nose. Cats have a strong sense of these things. I say, look, good fish. The cat squints and turns away. I insist, eat, but it doesn't eat and turns away. Only after smelling it starts eating. You can try it yourself, because smell is the determining factor, not taste or sight. Smell determines what we can and cannot eat. So if you detect a bad smell from food, don't eat it right away. It's not suitable for you. You don't have to eat it. There are experimenters. Of course, you can experiment on your own stomach, but these experiments can lead to mixed results. You should only smell dry products. Moist products don't possess or convey the true characteristic of smell. Only dry, dehydrated products reveal their true characteristic of smell. Is that clear? Therefore, all the products you want to eat should be dried at home in small jars. For example, dry tomatoes. Why? So you can smell them properly. Fresh tomatoes smell good, but that's not diagnostic because they contain moisture. There's moisture there. If there's moisture, it means that besides the earth element, the water element is present. In the presence of moisture, it is impossible to determine if the product is suitable or not. Only the earth element can be identified by smell. If you smell something moist, you don't know the true nature of that object. For instance, when you smell a fresh flower, you get one scent, while a dried flower has a different smell. The true nature of an object can only be determined by its dried smell, by its dry scent. So a tomato must be dried. To do this, put it on a glass, crush it, and spread it in a thin layer. If you don't have sunlight, you can set up a construction over the stove to dry it quickly. Just be careful to use too strong fire as it alters the structure. It should dry quickly. Then store a small amount in a little jar. How can you remove a smell? To remove a smell, you can only use another smell. There is one thing that cleanses everything. It cleanses everything around. What is it? That's right, cow manure, an absolutely pure product. If you've dried everything, raw vegetables can be rubbed down. Grains are already dry, so you just need to grind them a little bit. If something already has a strong smell, you don't need to grind it. You need to grind things that have a weak smell. For instance, grains can be put through a coffee grinder, and they will become powder. Pour everything into small containers with a neutral smell, and you can start diagnosing. Every 2 or 3 weeks, the smell of these products changes for you. Through this, you can judge that every 2 or 3 weeks, a person's nutrition changes. What is this related to? Who knows? It's related to the movement of the sun. As a result of the sun's movement, our diet changes. Therefore, it's impossible to determine what suits you and what doesn't for your entire life. It's just foolish to believe otherwise. You will see this when you start using your sense of smell. You'll see today it smells like this, tomorrow it will smell differently. You might think, this must have gone bad. Nothing of the sort. Someone else will say, no, it hasn't gone bad. The smell is fresh, it is very good. A jar of dried food can be stored for 5 years, and it will retain its smell, though the strength of the smell will gradually decrease. Since the air element is present in the dried state, the strength of the smell will diminish. The cooler the storage place, the better the preservation. If you keep a small container with tiny vials in the refrigerator, it can be stored there for 20 years. But this is not necessary. You can simply put it in a cool place. It's not hot enough here to require refrigeration. So, once you've dried your products, you have created a diagnostic set for yourself. And you have a health guide. Who has it? Who goes for treatment? For those who don't have it, I'll explain everything now. There's a table to determine if something is suitable or not, based on smell. If the smell is fresh, meaning not rotten, like the fresh air. If the smell is fresh, then it's suitable. Freshness means prana passes inside. Prana doesn't linger in the nose but moves inside. It means it's suitable for me. However, even for my daughter, this might not be a fresh smell at all. I shouldn't shake her and say, you're just like me, you look like me. Why don't you like this? No need to do this, because everyone is absolutely different. This is a common mistake. Even 2 identical twins might perceive smells completely differently, because they have different bodies. So don't pressure anyone to eat what they don't like if the smell doesn't suit them. Feelings are not the most important factor. The smell determines what is suitable for our body and what is not. It's connected to our body. We can treat our bodies based on smell. All pills should also be evaluated by smell. For this, you need to crush them into powder and smell them. It's very simple. You can determine if the pill has biological power. How to determine if a pill is made from herbs or a chemical substance? If a pill has biological power, it has a stronger smell. If it's a chemical pill, it has a weaker scent. However, this isn't always definitive. Grains, for example, hardly smell. Chemical substances have a smell, but it's sharp and lacks any aroma or gentleness. It's kind of impersonal. You can call it that way. It doesn't convey the personality or the essence of a plant. Take cologne, for example. It can either be chemical or herbal. Do you know how to tell the difference between the two? Herbal scents are weaker and gentler, while chemical ones are stronger. If the scent evokes a feeling of calmness, it means it's herbal. It should be subtle, gentle, and light. Chemical smells are very sharp or lack scent entirely. Some medications don't smell at all, so the smell should be fresh. It should be light, a light smell. There can be a heavy smell. You come somewhere and you feel that the smell is heavy, it suggests that thoughts are heavy. The smell can be heavy. It's not suitable in this case. Light and fresh smells are suitable. Rotten smells are not. The smell can be pleasant or unpleasant. This is what concerns feelings. If the smell is unpleasant, it indicates it's unsuitable. Not for feelings, not for the body, not for anything. It means it's not suitable at all. A pleasant smell can have two meanings. Sometimes it suits your feelings but not your body. Sometimes it suits both the body and the feelings. There's a difference. Do you know what the difference is? If the smell is pleasant and warm or not fresh, it means that it doesn't suit the body, but it suits the feelings. For example, sugar. Think of a cake in the evening. Someone bought a cake, but Dr. Torsunov mentioned it's harmful to eat cakes in the evening. Generally, you shouldn't eat sweets or bread at night. Therefore, you shouldn't eat cake at night. Smell it though, it produces a pleasant, warm aroma. You should understand that this will destroy you, destroy your body, so you shouldn't eat at night something that smells pleasant but warm. It's deceptive. The same applies to pleasant and sweet smells. If a sweet suits you, there will be a pleasant and fresh smell, you understand? However, a cake will never emit a pleasant and fresh scent in the evening. It will only smell pleasant and sweet or pleasant and warm. But in the morning, especially between 7 and 9, if you smell something sweet without bread, you'll see that the smell is somewhat fresh. Sometimes sweets can be suitable, sometimes not. If the smell is fresh, light, pleasant, and cool, then it's suitable. So the next characteristic is cool and warm. We've already tried cool today, right? I put my hands up and you felt the coolness. It means it's suitable. If it's not cool, it's not suitable. So if the smell is fresh, light, cool, and pleasant, it indicates that the product is suitable for you and will heal you. How to determine what will heal? By these criteria. There's not a hint of warmth, not a hint of staleness, not a hint of heaviness in this scent. It means that it has healing power for you. Now you can look and smell. When does a person have no sense of smell? When the nose doesn't smell. Do you know when a person loses their sense of smell? When they become indifferent to what they come into contact with in terms of food and what their body truly needs. If a person is indifferent to this, eventually God takes away their sense of smell and they feel that they can't smell anything. That's it. They become helpless. But even for such people, there's a secret. I'm revealing the secret now. If a product is suitable for you, you won't feel the smell, but you'll still sense freshness from it. So some people don't feel anything. They smell and don't understand what it smells like. Don't worry. If the product is suitable for you, you'll feel freshness. If it's not suitable, you won't feel anything. Taste alone is not a determining factor. Whether something is delicious or not doesn't mean anything yet. If you dry meat and smell it, it won't smell fresh to anyone. Such a smell is far from freshness. If a smell is fresh, slightly warm or a bit spicy, or slightly bitter, salty, tough, and heavy, there's a little bit of everything, it means that the product is somewhat suitable for you, but not entirely. Many such products exist. You can eat them, they won't heal you, and they won't do much harm either. All shades of salty, sour, bitter, spicy, slightly savory, and at the same time fresh, meaning that freshness is present and the smell is pleasant, suggest the product's suitability. If the smell is fresh but unpleasant despite having all these shades, it indicates unsuitability. An unpleasant scent is always unsuitable, always. But deceptions happen. The smell can be unpleasant when it's very strong. If the smell is unpleasant, you should always move the product a little further from your nose. If freshness immediately enters your nose, it means that this product is just very strong for you. For example, there's a spice called asafoetida. It's made from tree resin. It has a very strong smell. If you put it somewhere near other products, they will all smell like asafoetida. Asafoetida smells like both onion and garlic, so you need to smell it from a distance. If it's suitable for you, you'll feel freshness from it. It is particularly beneficial in winter in your area, and it's suitable for many people. You can buy it where Indian spices are sold. The next criterion is when you're diagnosing grains that don't have a smell, they're odorless. If they give off coolness and freshness, they are suitable. If you notice dust when you shake it and smell it, if dust comes from the grain, it means it's not suitable. You might say, this grain is just dusty, but isn't about being dusty. In that case, you can conduct an experiment. Shake the grain that isn't dusty for you and smell it well so that your whole face is covered in dust. This is to leave no arguments for your mind. You won't feel the dust from it. You'll still feel the freshness in your nose. From other grains, even if you shake it a little, you'll feel dust. It means that it's simply not suitable for you. Prana conflicts with this substance in your body. Sometimes the smell is neutral. Even when you shake the product, you feel neither freshness nor dust. It means it's suitable, but not entirely. If it doesn't smell like anything at all, neither freshness nor dust, it means it's suitable, but not entirely. You can eat small amounts. If the smell lacks coolness or freshness, if the smell is only warm and that's it, regardless of being also savory, spicy, bitter, sour, sweet, or salty, it's not suitable. Thus, if the smell is warm and unpleasant, it's definitely not suitable for you, and you'll get sick from it. The same applies to a smell that is dusty and unpleasant. If the smell is warm and neutral, the same thing. If the smell is just spicy, or just salty, or just something else but without freshness, it means it's also not suitable. If there's no freshness, it means it's not suitable. That's the criterion. Sometimes a person struggles to determine the smell because their senses are very dulled and they don't understand if the smell is pleasant or not. Pleasantness is not a criterion. The criterion is freshness. If you don't understand whether the smell is pleasant or not, then focus on the presence of freshness and lightness. Thus, there shouldn't be a warm smell coming from the product. No warmth should come from a jar. This criterion is not suitable for humans. If you start smelling people around you and say that Dr. Torsunov taught this, if a person smells warm, it means they're not suitable for me. For humans, their voice serves as a criterion. By their gaze, you can determine their attitude towards you and generally. Touch determines purity. Taste determines our outlook and how we are tuned. How to determine a person's consciousness? You need to prepare meat, milk, or spicy food and give it to them to eat. If they like dairy food, they are in a state of pure goodness. If they like spicy food, they are in a state of passion. If they like meat, they are in degradation. Many people like potatoes. This product has a lot of prana, which is needed for activity. Potatoes are not always beneficial. They can sometimes be harmful if consumed in the second half of the day, bringing many diseases related to metabolism, such as various stones or protein disorders. Therefore, it's best to eat potatoes before 4 p.m. However, they are unsuitable for many people. There is another product that is not suitable for many people, and many eat it, besides meat products. It's yeast bread. Yeast is in degradation, and bread is in pure goodness. When these are combined, the result is degradation. Therefore, yeast bread is not a very good food. It's better to bake your own bread. We will discuss this in detail later. For now, let me share this. Do you know which products most strongly transmit the consciousness of another person? It's grains and legumes. Through these foods, the consciousness of another person is transmitted most strongly. The mind of a person is transmitted. Grains and cereals like wheat and rye, these types of grains nourish our minds with strength. They are connected with the energy of the mind. That's why they say, bread is the head of everything. This means that if a person eats bread at the right time, they will gain mental strength. They will be strong if they eat bread on time. On time means that the bread will be digested with the help of the sun. If bread is not digested with the help of the sun, but using other types of fire, we've discussed them before, then a person will have a bad, befouled mind. They will constantly feel irritable. Bread is digested with the help of the sun, that is between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. At other times, the sun doesn't have the power to digest bread. A person will have a befouled mind with bad, impure fire. If bread is prepared by a person with a negative attitude, you will undoubtedly receive that person's consciousness and state of mind when you consume such bread. That's why it's best to make bread yourself. It doesn't take long. Knead it for 15 minutes and put it in the oven. You don't need to do anything else. It cooks itself. You can even knead it for less, just 10 minutes. Recipes will be provided. I'm intentionally not sharing recipes and products right now. Why? Because many are only focused on eating and are just waiting for the recipes. I'm trying to give you more practical knowledge so that you know all this. Thus, the recipes will be at the very end. Now you know this, and you can skip the next lectures, attending only the last one. We're staying for 3 more weeks, that's what we've decided for now. There will be many more lectures. You can attend the last one, but I don't know. I might also share something important in the earlier ones as well. Let's wrap up this topic and move on to answering questions. Smell is similar to when you're walking outside during the day and feel warm air. Sometimes it's fresh air, sometimes it's warm air. A warm smell is like warm air. It just gives off warmth, and that's all. You might not feel the warmth from a smell, but if you pay attention, you can sense it. Generally, if a smell is not cool, it's always warm. If a smell has some color but lacks coolness or freshness, if there is no lightness, then it's warm. Is that clear? You'll understand later. As time goes on, you'll smell more often. You wake up at 4 a.m., but at 8 you want to sleep for at least an hour. Why? How to get rid of this torment? A person should wake up at 4 a.m. only for one purpose: to engage in spiritual practice. This means wishing happiness to everyone, reading prayers, or reading spiritual books. There's no other reason to get up at 4 a.m. Getting up at 4 a.m. for other reasons and engaging in something else quickly leads to a befouled mind, because at this time a person's mind is in a very subtle state. Therefore, if you want to get up at 4 a.m., you need to read something spiritual for at least an hour, and you will gain energy for the whole day. You will feel very happy. How you set your intention in the morning, that's how you will feel all day. That's the law you can check. Therefore, you should set yourself up in the morning, not after lunch. Morning is for setting yourself up for the whole day. If you set yourself up incorrectly, it leads to sleepiness. You become befouled in the morning and crave sleep. Sometimes this also happens simply because you are not used to waking up early and strange thoughts enter your head. What kind of strange thoughts? Well, you might find yourself thinking about how early it really is. It happens that the alarm clock rings earlier than expected. Everyone has experienced this. We wake up feeling completely energetic. We get out of bed, and then, when we look at the clock, it shows 2 hours earlier than we expected. Suddenly our legs feel weak, and we have no strength, so we collapse back on the bed thinking, I'll sleep for 2 hours and even more because I've already been up for 40 minutes. When we wake up after 2 hours and 40 minutes thinking, no, the night was bad, interrupted, I need more sleep. You see, we got up feeling completely energetic. We didn't want to sleep, but a bad thought entered our heads. Therefore, if you find yourself wanting to sleep, know that about 90% of the time, it comes from such foolish thoughts. Our attitude says, you need to sleep now. Our attitude is a huge force. Feelings are attached to pleasures. They like to enjoy. The strongest of these pleasures are animalistic. There are 4 types of animal pleasure. These are sleep, food, defense, and mating. Defense relates to everything we need, our apartments and houses. We defend ourselves against everyone. These are animal feelings, and these feelings are very powerful. If a person feels hungry, they can die from this feeling. Or if they want something else from these 4, they can die or become seriously ill. Thus, it's crucial to protect oneself from these things. One should tell themselves in the evening, I must get up at this specific time, and there's no discussion about it. No changes should be allowed. One needs to discipline themselves this way. Because if there is even the slightest deviation, the feeling of sleep will definitely overpower us. The same goes for food. Avoid eating at the wrong time, no deviations, don't taste anything, just cut it off and that's it. But you won't be able to resist these feelings if you don't replace them with something else. So if a person gets up at 4 a.m., a thought about sleep will likely still cross their mind. There is another feeling stronger than sleep, the feeling of happiness. The feeling of happiness is the strongest. Engaging in happiness in the morning prevents the urge to sleep. This has been tested. If a person wants to be happy, they say, I wish happiness to everyone in the morning, or they read a prayer or repeat the holy names of God. Every morning I personally repeat the holy names of God for 2 hours. It strongly purifies my consciousness, and consciousness becomes childlike. I recall my childhood every morning and feel extraordinary happiness. This happiness comes from within and fills my entire existence when I read or repeat the holy names of God in the morning. Just like when they sing there, we repeat, I wish happiness to everyone. It's the same thing as wishing happiness to everyone. Because the names of God denote different aspects of happiness. We've already discussed this several times. Therefore, you can do this to experience extraordinary happiness too. If you can't, you can simply wish happiness to everyone or repeat a prayer if you like a certain prayer. Feel free to read books as much as your heart desires. At first, the heart doesn't desire it at all because we are in a befouled state. In a state of illness, your mind resists repeating anything, but there are certain processes at work. If we gradually start this practice, we will develop a taste for it. We just need to start. To make it enjoyable, immediately set a good mood with music that resonates. You need to turn on the sound coming from a pure heart. This is immediately felt by everyone in the morning. In the evening, you might listen to some music that was recommended to you, and you might not like it, but in the morning it will be evident if it comes from a pure heart. If your entire being is overflowing with happiness and no distracting thoughts arise, then you are truly listening during the session. I know this person, he is a holy person, you understand? Everyone who came into contact with this received something valuable, but each person can choose for themselves. This is freedom. You need to select the sound that resonates with you, but you should know exactly who is singing. Sometimes people approach me and say, here's such a melody or such a piece of music, but you need the sound of a person, you understand? It's essential because a person transmits power. You need to know who you're choosing. You should know exactly who is singing. This is a very extensive and complex science. It's best when they sing prayers or pronounce the holy names of God. This is the best opportunity to feel this power of joy and happiness in the morning. Or you can simply wish happiness to everyone, for example. You can use that as well. Please take advantage of this. As our feelings are inclined toward negativity, we are very befouled. Our feelings lean towards negativity. Right now, our feelings are very dirty, which is why we get sick. We become attached to these feelings and operate from a mindset akin to flies. Remember our discussion about the consciousness of a bee? A bee seeks honey, while the consciousness of a fly steers a fly to seek only you know what. We find ourselves in the consciousness of a fly, constantly looking around and searching for negativity. Therefore, when you wake up in the morning, you should turn on music that will set you up for the day. You should turn on a melody that possesses the pure consciousness of the person who is singing, and you will feel extraordinary happiness from within. Happiness will flow and it will stay with you all day. It's very simple. This is the most powerful form of healing through sound. Pure sound is a great fortune. If you find it, you are lucky. I recommend everyone to engage in such a search for themselves. Here are different piles of notes with questions. Dr. Torsunov, what should one do if a daughter completely rejects milk? Does this mean that milk is not pure goodness for her? Thank you for the answer and for everything else. There are two possibilities. First, you've given her too much. Milk can serve as medicine for some people only in small quantities, and you need to sweeten the milk well. It shouldn't be sugar-free, but also shouldn't have excessive sugar or honey. You shouldn't give too much or too little milk. How to determine the quantity? You mentioned in this lecture that if a person wakes up in the morning with a stuffy or unpleasant feeling in the mouth, it means they drank too much milk. If they had a poor night's sleep, it means they didn't drink enough milk. When a person drinks the right amount of milk before bed, their sleep is pure, calm, clear, and pleasant. The second possibility is that you simply forced this milk on her. Maybe she drank it in large quantities or it was forced on her. If you keep pestering a person, you must drink milk, they associate it with your aggressive attitude. Therefore, they resist. You shouldn't force anyone to do anything. You should just provide true knowledge and let them listen to a lecture about milk so they want to drink it. It's a very simple solution. The last note with a question. How long can a person live if the soul leaves their body? The body cannot survive without the soul for even a moment, and the soul never departs from its place in our body until it completely leaves. Therefore, the expression, the soul went into one's heels, is not scientific. It's the subtle energy body that leaves, but the soul remains in the body. The soul only leaves at the moment of death. The subtle energy body can leave at any moment, and it can travel. A person can leave in their subtle energy body and travel during sleep, or even just relax and leave in the subtle energy body. All of this is possible, which also proves the existence of the subtle energy body. When we connect with someone from a distance, it is a result of the movement of thought, not the subtle energy body. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.